Hello, fictional. Welcome to the Fiction Series X. Today we are gonna see, what if Issei unleashed the power of darkness within him? Part 2. If you end up liking this video, please consider subscribe, so without further ado, let's get into the video. Issei glared at the sun as he walked to Kuo Academy. He was wearing the usual required school clothing. Issei switched his glare from the sun to glaring in front of him. It seemed that after awaking the darkness his sensitivity to the light skyrocketed. Is poor Issei-kun scared of the light? A teasing voice asked. How are you unaffected by this? Issei replied as he cast a glance at his companion. It was a woman about a few inches taller than him. She had black hair that went over the left side of her shoulder and covered the left side of her face. She also had yellow-orange eyes. She also wore a dark red mini dress that had purple designs on it. It's because I'm stronger than you. Cinder replied condescendingly, getting a glare from the already angry teen before she looked forward with a contemplative look on her face. Truth was she had no idea why the light wasn't burning her alive. She was also going over some of her more recent memories. Being the darkness, she had knowledge of all dark-based creatures. She realized she had a lot of information on monsters, some that were never there before. Cinder glanced at Issei before she narrowed her eyes forward. It seems my fight with the Angelus was bigger than I realized. The darkness thought as she walked with her host. It would seem I tore a hole from one world to one of the adjacent worlds. Cinder contemplated. She was no stranger to dimensional travel, being the primordial being of darkness she could technically roam in any world or universe that had darkness in it. She just chose to stay in the world where her mortal enemy resided. Are you alright? Issei asked when he noticed Cinder was out of it. Yes, I'm thinking. Cinder commented offhandedly, getting a confused look from Issei, wondering why she'd need to think. The darkness zoned out again. So I'm in a world inhabited by dozens of supernatural beings. But why is the light not as potent as it usually is? Cinder thought to herself as she glanced at the sun and only felt a slight fatigue. The darkness remembered back to the fallen angel that wielded light. It is possible that with so many different beings wielding light that its effects have become diluted. Cinder theorized. Hey Cinder. Issei voiced, getting the amber-eyed woman's attention. How many people before me have had the darkness? Issei questioned, getting a shrug from Cinder. She honestly lost count on how many hosts she had. She only started to pay attention to the more recent ones, mostly because they most interesting out of them all. From what I saw in the memories, the host of the darkness was invincible. How'd they die? Issei asked, getting a dark smirk from Cinder. Through sex. She informed, causing Issei to stop. What? Issei asked, afraid of the answer. By having sex with a human woman, a child will be convinced. No matter how much protection you have, it will always happen. Cinder said, sadistically enjoying the look of despair on Issei's face. When the child's convinced, the darkness will betray its host and forcibly remove itself from its host and move to the child, killing the host in the process. Cinder finished. Issei looked forward with wide eyes, but turned to face Cinder when he felt her hand on his shoulder. But, don't worry Issei-kun. If you stick with me, I'll make sure the darkness doesn't kill you. Cinder cooed. Issei looked at Cinder suspiciously. And you'd do that out of goodness of your heart? He questioned, getting a dark chuckle from the amber-eyed woman. Goodness? No. I want to help you, because I like you. There's nothing good about it. Cinder replied uncaringly. Issei sighed slightly at her answer. Hey Cinder, how are you going to join this school? Issei questioned. You're going to ask the abominations. Cinder stated. Abominations? Issei asked. These things that call themselves devils, they disgust me. Cinder voiced. They think just because they were created by the morning star, they think they're the devil. Arrogance like that is revolting. Cinder ranted, getting a sweat drop from Issei. So you want me to ask the things you can't stand to join a school that has the things you hate in it? Issei asked, unsure, only to dodge a purple and black fireball. If talk to me like I'm stupid again, I'll burn you. Cinder threatened. Issei rolled his eyes slightly at Cinder's melodrama. The two eventually arrived at the academy. Issei sighed when he noticed almost all the students' eyes focused on him and Cinder. Most of the male populace did a double take when they saw Cinder. Which Issei could understand, Cinder just gave off that dark aura that got everyone's attention. Along with the fact she was hot helped. Stupid humans. Cinder said darkly as she felt their eyes on her. And here I thought you'd love the attention. Issei voiced. The attention of such revolting beings is not something I favor. Cinder replied as she sent a glare to the teens that stared at her. I'm human, yet you like my attention. Issei argued. You are an exception. Cinder said absently. I feel so happy now. Issei said sarcastically, getting an unamused look from Cinder. You should, the darkness doesn't like humans, and neither do I, Cinder informed as the two entered the academy building. Before the two could walk further they were stopped by a young girl with black hair, violet eyes and glasses. Issei-san. The girl said in an aloof voice. Sauna. Issei replied, getting an annoyed glare from the girl. You must not refer to me with such familiarity. Sauna replied coolly. Yes, yes, whatever you say, Sauna. Issei waved off, increasing the class president's glare. Now what does the class president need with little Almi? Issei questioned. I'm aware of your transgressions last night. Sauna stated, getting a raised eyebrow from Issei and an amused look from Cinder. I'm also aware you're an unstable element here. But I will warn you, if you harm anyone here I will not hesitate to kill you. Sauna threatened. Like an abomination like you could us. Cinder said darkly. What did you just call me? Sauna demanded as she faced Cinder. Whoa whoa whoa, let's calm down here. Issei voiced as he got in between the two. Issei-san, it's against the rules to bring guests unannounced. Sauna stated. Oh yeah, about that, Issei muttered. Don't lie. I can practically feel her sinister aura. What is she? Sauna demanded. Causing Issei to glance to Cinder, but all he saw was her amused smirk. She's Cinder, my, Issei said, trying to think of the right word without trying to give information on Cinder out. Teacher, mistress, puppet, master, lover, take your pick. Cinder listed off uncaringly. Wait, lover? Issei thought to himself as he glanced at Cinder, causing her to smirk at him. It doesn't matter what you are to him. You don't have any right to be here. Sauna informed. Issei sighed while Cinder still looked amused. Oh, and what are you going to do about it? Cinder taunted. I'll personally remove you from the premises. Sauna shot back. Cinder crossed her arms but still had a dark smirk on her face. She raised her hand and put her thumb and middle finger together in a pitching motion as the designs on her dress gleamed an ominous purple. Sauna lurched forward slightly and grabbed her chest in pain. What's happening? Issei questioned. The darkness has some control over every dark being in existence. I'm slowing her heart down to a dangerous rate. Cinder voiced darkly as her eyes glowed. You abominations are so arrogant it's sickening. Cinder said, causing Issei to flinch slightly when he heard the darkness's demonic voice echo what Cinder said with perfect timing. Calling yourselves devils, the arrogance. There is only one, and that's the morning star, the betrayer, the true master of hell. Cinder said as she increased the pain Sauna was in. You're but a creation of its power. She stated. Stop it, Cinder. Issei said when Sauna fell to her knees. Cinder looked at Sauna with a sadistic glee and began to close her entire fist, only for Issei to grab her shoulders and face her towards him. I said, stop it, Cinder. There's no reason to kill her. Issei ordered, causing Cinder to glare slightly at him. Do you choose an abomination over me? Cinder asked threateningly. I'm not choosing anyone over anyone. Issei replied. Killing someone for petty reasons is pathetic. He stated, causing Cinder to glare at him. Look, I see where you're coming from, but I also see where she's coming from. I'm not going against you, Cinder. But fighting these beings is a stupid move. It's the morning and the sun is out and you and I both know how bad that is. Issei reasoned. Cinder's glare faltered before she huffed slightly. She knew she had a bit of a temper and when she was pissed she lost sight of everything else. And it pissed her off incredibly when such a lower beings even thought they were stronger than her. Cinder released Sauna and looked at her with her usual dark smirk. You should thank Issei-kun, if it were up to me, well, you know. Cinder taunted. Issei ignored her and knelt down next to Sauna and helped her up. Are you alright? Issei asked, getting a glare from Sauna. Don't touch me. Sauna ordered as she pushed Issei's hand away. So disrespectful, I'd expect nothing less. Cinder imputed. Cinder, please stop trying to antagonize her. Issei muttered. Why? Cinder questioned. You went out of your way to help her. You even stood up against me. She added, with slight annoyance. If it had been anyone else who stood up against her, she would have had their head on a spike. She shouldn't be so prideful. Cinder said as she looked at Sauna, who was glaring at her. Sauna was about to say something, but was interrupted by the appearance of a blonde boy. Sorry for interrupting your conversation. But I need Issei-kun. The blonde boy voiced, causing Sauna to take a deep breath. Why? She questioned. It was Ria-senpai who asked for him. The blonde boy informed, causing Sauna to scowl before she turned around and walked away. That was a bit anticlimactic. Issei commented. I thought she'd never leave. Cinder voiced uncaringly, getting a slight glare from Issei, which she ignored. Issei-kun, it is alright if you come with me. The blonde boy asked. Issei looked at the blonde and sighed. So this is my counterpart, Issei thought with some amusement. While Issei was about average in appearance, his dark aura attracted women apparently. So they called him the Dark Prince, with Kiba being called the Light Prince. Issei found it pretty ironic since he was human and Kiba was a devil. Sure. Issei replied. Lead the way. He added, but Kiba looked at Cinder curiously. I was only requested to bring you. Kiba informed. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to allow her to follow. Kiba said. Don't worry about her. She'd just do as she pleases always. So it'd be pretty pointless to try and stop her. Issei informed. Issei-kun, you're learning. Cinder said in a condescending tone, getting a slight glare from Issei. Fine, follow me then. Kiba voiced as he turned around and walked. With Issei and Cinder walked side by side. While walking, the three occasionally walked past some girls or guys, both of which either glared at Kiba and Issei because they were near a hot girl or glared at Cinder for being near Kiba or Issei. It was a weird experience for Issei, but Cinder didn't give a shit. Rias, Akeno and Kaneko sat in the occult research club room. Kaneko was sitting on one of the couches eating sweets. Rias was sitting on one of the chairs, with Akeno standing by her side. The three were waiting for the arrival of Issei and Kiba. The three turned to face the door when they heard the sound of clinking glass. There was a knock at the door. Come in. Rias voiced. The door opened and the blonde swordsman walked in. Followed by a teen boy with disheveled brown hair and brown eyes. He wore a black blazer that had white accents, black pants and black shoes. When Issei walked in, he glanced around, but there was still the sound of clinking glass. The person that followed Issei in grabbed the attention of Rias, Akeno and Kaneko. It was a woman with pale skin, black hair that went over her left shoulder that obscured the left side of her face, and she had yellow-orange eyes. She wore a dark red off-the-shoulders V-neck mini dress with purple designs. The dress ended in an upside-down triangular tail in the back just above her knees. Rias, Akeno and Kaneko noticed she had a black choker around her neck, a glass-like high-heeled shoes, and a jeweled anklet on her right leg. The three saw her looking at them, and they felt an incredibly dark presence from her, almost identical to Issei's dark aura, but more intense. If they weren't devils and they didn't know about them, they'd assume she was the devil. So Red, what did you need? Issei questioned, shaking the three devils from their staring contest with Cinder. My name is Rias Ice-kun, not Red. Rias said with a slight pout. Whatever you say, Red, so why are you so adamant on me being here? Issei asked. Rias adopted a serious look. To be frank here, everyone here is a devil. She informed. Issei and Cinder shared a look before they focused back on Rias. Is that all? Issei asked in a deadpan. What? Rias voiced. I think she wanted to surprise you. Cinder inputted, causing Rias to glance at her again before she focused on Issei. If you know about devils, then that means you know about fallen angels. Rias inquired. You mean like the guy that killed me last night? Issei clarified, causing Kaneko to flinch slightly. Before I butchered him. Issei added. Yes. Rias replied she was still a little surprised by the brutality of that attack. Akeno herself blushed a bit remembering last night. Okay, now again, why am I here? Issei asked again, before Rias could answer. Cinder interrupted. I think she wants to recruit you to become an abomination. Cinder commented. Abomination? Rias muttered. Yes, an abomi. Cinder began. Ah. Nope, don't mind her. Issei quickly announced, causing Cinder to sigh as Issei's docile behavior. What did she mean by abomination? Akeno asked sweetly. You really don't want to know. Issei replied. Oh, but I do. Akeno insisted. That's nice, but it's something I'd rather not have her say. Issei voiced as he looked at Cinder, with a mixture of anger and pleading. Cinder scoffed slightly before she relented, as she sat on the couch that no one was sitting on and put one leg over the other, with Issei sitting by her side. Is it true that you want to recruit me? Issei questioned. Yes, your powers would be a valuable asset. Rias informed, going straight to the point. Even if I wanted to, I think it would be impossible. Issei imputed. Why? Rias asked curiously. Because Issei began, only for Cinder to wrap an arm around Issei and rest her head on his shoulder. Because someone has already placed a claim on Issei-kun. Cinder said with a dark tone, getting Rias' attention. What? When did you claim him? Rias asked, causing Issei's eye to twitch slightly. I'm not a thing to be bartered with. Issei thought to himself, only to feel Cinder's hand lightly squeeze his shoulder. Oh, Issei-kun, don't think that. Issei heard Cinder say inside his head. Compared to the rest of the beings in existence, you're the most important to me and the darkness. Issei heard Cinder finish, but what surprised him was the fact that it was in a kind voice. We claimed when Issei was 5. Cinder stated, getting wide eyes from Rias. Issei looked down and thought before he nodded. That was when he started getting the weird dreams of the darkness, so that sounded about right. Wait, who's this we? Rias questioned. The darkness and myself. Cinder stated. She honestly didn't care if she told beings she could kill with a snap of her fingers such information. The darkness? Rias questioned with a cute face, causing Cinder to roll her eyes slightly in annoyance. The darkness is one of the 2 primal forces in the universe. Issei imputed. But what is it? Rias asked, getting a "Are you serious" look from Cinder. What do you want, a biography of it? Issei asked sarcastically. Well, no, but it would be helpful. Rias voiced. Well, this conversation just went downhill. Issei muttered. Other than the fact that you wanted to recruit me and information on what my powers are, what else did you want? Issei asked with a sigh. Rias shifted slightly. I wanted. She began, only for the sound of music to cut her off. Roses are red and violets are blue. One will cruise down Blood Gulch Avenue. It's red versus red and blue versus blue. It's I against I and me against you. A song sung before it was cut off by a beep. Hello? Issei said, causing everyone to look at him to see he was on a cell phone. Hey Issei, are you there? A panicked voice asked. Yep, what's up? Issei replied. You know how you helped me with that wraith problem a while back? The voice questioned, causing Issei to narrow his eyes slightly. Yeah, I remember. Issei stated. You told me to call you if any more unusual things happen. Jay voiced. Something strange is happening. Jay informed. What happened? Issei questioned with narrowed eyes. There have been 6 mysterious deaths. Jay informed. Mysterious, how? Issei asked. Their heart stopped. They were perfectly healthy in the days leading up to their deaths. There was nothing wrong with their hearts. But they just spontaneously stopped. Jay said quickly. Where were they? Issei questioned. All at the hospital. Jay informed, causing Issei to sigh. Fuck. Why does it always have to be hospitals? Issei thought to himself. Fine, I'll look into it. Issei said. Thanks man. Jay voiced before he hung up. Issei closed his phone and looked at it before he stood up. Well later. Issei said as he headed towards the door. Where do you think you're going? Riaz demanded. To a hospital to get rid of a supernatural creature, possibly a ghost, if the symptoms are correct. Issei commented. No, you're not. Riaz argued as she stood up. Oh, that's cute. Issei taunted as he opened the door to the occult research club. Cinder, are you coming? Issei asked. Yes, I'm just going to enjoy the show for now. Cinder voiced, getting a look from Issei. Whatever you say. Issei muttered as he walked through the door, only for Riaz to stop him. What now? Issei questioned with a slight glare. Well, he had the patience of a saint when it came to girls, but even he had his limits. You're not going. Riaz stated. Really? Issei asked sarcastically. And why's that? He added. Because it's dangerous. Riaz voiced. I'm hunting a ghost, not a Wendigo or a vampire. Issei waved off. Riaz sounded, getting a sigh from Issei before he looked to Cinder to see her smirking. Oh god. Issei muttered, causing all the devils to flinch. Look, I'm going. He stated as he turned around only for Riaz to grab onto his arm. I'm not letting you go. Riaz said, getting a raised eyebrow from Issei. We've only known each other for like 2 days. Why are you so insistent on my safety? Issei asked curiously. Even if you don't think it, I see you as a comrade. Riaz admitted. You've been nothing but polite to Kaneko. And you've been nice enough to come here when you had no reason to. Riaz informed before she leaned close, causing Issei to lean back. Before Riaz could hug Issei, she was pulled back by Cinder. Enough of this chick flick crap. Cinder said, aiming a glare at Riaz. If you want Issei to be safe, then follow us if you can. I honestly don't care. She voiced out before Cinder let go of Riaz and slowly walked around her and Issei. Until she was behind Issei and placed a hand on his shoulder before they were engulfed in shadows and disappeared completely. That was interesting. Kiba voiced. You want to follow him, President? Akeno questioned. Yes, we don't even know who that woman is. Riaz said. My president, you're already jealous of her being near Issei-kun. Akeno teased. I can see why though, he's so She added with a slight blush as she licked her lips. But President, how are we going to find him? We don't know where he lives. Kiba questioned. We don't know, but we do know someone who does. Riaz commented as she and Akeno looked to Kaneko, who was looking away while nibbling at her sweets. Kaneko, can you take us to Issei's place? Riaz asked. It's a secret. Kaneko replied. Come on, please. Riaz questioned. Do you want Ice-kun to fight a monster by himself or be alone with that woman? Riaz asked, causing Kaneko to narrow her eyes slightly. Fine. Kaneko relented. While she knew Issei could take care of himself, she didn't trust the woman with him. She could practically smell the evil rolling off her. Yeah, that's it, she wasn't jealous at all. A shadow grew in Issei's living room and formed Issei and Cinder. What was that? Issei muttered with wide eyes. We moved through the shadows, please keep up. Cinder said nonchalantly. But how? Issei asked. He really wanted to do that. Shadows are merely an imprint of the darkness presences that's on this plane, because of that the darkness is connected to every shadow. And how you do it is simple. Cinder explained but stopped at the end. Well, how do I do it? Issei asked, practically on the edge of his seat. You want it? Cinder informed, causing Issei to deflate. What? Issei questioned, causing Cinder to sigh. The darkness responds to your will, your mind and your imagination. You have to will it to happen, you have to think for it to form, you have to imagine it. To do something with the darkness you need to want it to happen. Cinder explained. Oh. Issei muttered. That actually made a lot of sense. When he killed the fallen angel and priest, that's how he envisioned they would die, and the darkness made it happen. I'll be back. Issei voiced as he went into his room to get his hunter gear and change. Cinder sighed when she saw a red symbol form on the floor of Issei's apartment. When Ria's, Akeno, Kiba and Kaneko formed, she scowled slightly. And here I thought you'd have more tact than to break into an apartment. But it seems even I can be wrong. Cinder taunted. Ria's glared slightly before she calmed herself down. Who are you? She asked. Now you ask. Cinder commented with some surprise. That's interesting. She added. Who are you? Ria's questioned more forcefully. Are you sure you want to know? Cinder asked with a smirk, only to get a glare from the crimson-haired devil. I'm many things. She informed only for Ria's to glare harder. Cinder's eyes and the purple sigils on her dress gleamed maliciously. Importantly, I'm the very being that can kill you with the snap of my fingers. Cinder said with a glare more intimidating than Ria's. Is that a threat? Ria's asked dangerously as a crimson aura formed around her. She was about to take a step forward, only for Kaneko to stop her. What is it? Ria's questioned, only for Kaneko to motion up. Ria's looked up to see a strange symbol on the ceiling. What is that? Ria's asked. The devil's trap. The group heard Issei's voice say. They turned to see Issei closing the door to his room while holding a duffel bag on his back. What's a devil's trap? Ria's asked curiously, she'd never heard of something like that, but when she asked it Issei and Cinder looked at her like she was an idiot. It's a trap for devils you know, its name sorta implies what it does. Issei said sardonically before he narrowed his eyes. Wait, what the hell are you guys doing here? Issei interrogated. We decided to help you. Ria's announced, getting a deadpan look from Issei. I really don't need help. Issei muttered. And if I do need it, Cinder would. Issei informed as he looked to the woman in red. You would, right? He asked, getting a slightly offended look from Cinder. You have to ask. Cinder questioned. Yes. Issei stated dryly. Cinder's offended look shifted to a satisfied one. Good. Cinder commented, getting a confused look from Issei. Good? Why is that good? Issei asked, only for Cinder to lean incredibly close to him. It would be incredibly stupid for you to be so trusting of me, especially since we met only last night. Cinder voiced in a whisper. But I will rectify that until I'm the only person you can trust. She added as she leaned back. Cinder cast a sideways glance at the devils to see Kaneko looking at her with narrowed eyes, Ria's glaring at her, Kiba smiled his usual smile, and Akeno looked uncaring. Issei forced his blush down and composed himself. So there's no need for you guys to come. Issei stated. We've already made our decision. Kaneko said, getting Issei's attention. Please respect it. She added. Issei sighed before he ran a hand through his hair. Fine, just don't get in my way. Issei relented as he walked to the countertop of his kitchen and picked up a black jacket. While he put it on, the devils noticed he had changed his attire. Issei wore a black t-shirt, blue jeans and boots. After Issei put on his jacket, he placed a duffel bag on his back. Issei headed over to the door and opened it before he stopped and looked at the devils. Are you guys waiting for an invitation? Let's go. Issei announced as he left his apartment with Cinder following. Are you sure you want such nuisances to follow you? Cinder asked as she walked side by side with Issei. The teen glanced back to see the devils walking behind them before he shrugged. We're hunting a ghost. I doubt they'd get in the way. Issei replied. And it would be a good way to see their abilities. Issei thought to himself, causing Cinder to smirk. Ice-kun, how come you say it's a ghost? Ria's asked she'd never seen a ghost before. Even if she was a devil she never met a ghost. All the evidence points to it, red. Issei said putting extra emphasis on red. What evidence? Kaneko questioned as the group headed towards the hospital. Other than the fact it's a hospital. The only cause of death is the heart spontaneously stopping. Most of, if not all the monsters out there eat at least some part of the humans they kill. Issei explained. What does it being a hospital have to do with the creature being a ghost? Kiba asked, causing Issei to look at him strangely. You do realize dozens of deaths happen in hospitals, right? Issei asked back. Ghosts usually haunt that place they dead. He clarified. What's so powerful about a ghost anyways? Akeno asked. This ain't the usual Casper. Ghosts are incredibly dangerous. When a spirit dies and doesn't move on, it's usually because it has some sort of unfinished business. And the longer it stays on this plane of existence, the angrier they become. With that anger or another intense emotion, they're able to do a wide variety of things, ranging from telekinesis to possession to reality warping. Issei explained. That's incredible. Ria's announced, causing Cinder to look at her weirdly. Yes, it's pretty incredible when they're trying to kill you. Issei commented sarcastically before the group eventually arrived at the hospital. Issei glanced at the front of the hospital before he walked in. Issei got stares from most of the people he passed, mostly because he was being followed by 3 girls and a boy wearing a school outfit and a gorgeous woman. The teen walked up to the reception desk and noticed there was a blonde woman there with greenish blue eyes, curly blonde hair. Issei noticed she wore a black sleeveless jacket but couldn't see any lower due to the desk in the way. "Hello there." Issei voiced as he leaned on desk. "Yes?" the receptionist asked as she glanced up. "A friend of mine was hospitalized a few months ago. Jay Burton, he had his right leg and arm shattered." Issei voiced. "Oh, yeah, I know where he is." The blonde receptionist voiced without even looking away from Issei. "Really?" Issei asked. "It's hard to miss a Caucasian man with 2 shattered limbs who constantly rants about mundane things and also has high-case schizophrenia." The blonde commented. "Yeah, that sounds like him." Issei muttered. "Can you tell me what room he's in?" Issei asked. "I'll do something better, I'll personally take you to him." The blonde receptionist voiced as she stood up. "Oh, you don't have to do that," Issei trailed off. "Lily." The blonde receptionist introduced herself. "You don't have to do that, Lily. I wouldn't want to take up your time." Issei voiced. "I insist." Lily said as she stood up and walked around her desk until she stood near Issei. The teen looked at the empty desk she was in before he glanced at Lily. Don't have a job to do?" Issei questioned as he looked from her to her desk, then back to her. Lily glanced around before she focused on a male nurse. "You." Lily said, getting the man's attention. "Sit here and work." She ordered and the male nurse fearfully complied. "See, perfect." Lily said with a devilish smile. Guess that works." Issei muttered. "Great, follow me, handsome." Lily purred lowly. Issei followed the blonde woman with a slight blush. Well, he was no stranger to the opposite sex, an attractive woman was flirting with him and that's always a rare occurrence. While following the blonde woman, Issei's eyes began to trail downward. "Oof." Issei sounded as he doubled over. "Eyes forward, pervert." Kaneko voiced. Issei rubbed his stomach and sighed. "Hey Issei, how'd you meet this J person?" Rias questioned, causing Issei to glance at Lily to see she was still leading them. "A few months ago there was a wraith hunting here. With Jay being hospitalized at that time, I ran into him while I was hunting the wraith. It seemed that the wraith was going after Jay, so I told him what was happening and killed the wraith. I told him to call me if he saw something." Issei explained. "But didn't the receptionist say he was a schizophrenic?" Akeno asked. "Yeah," Issei said with a sigh. "Yes, he is." He muttered. "Hey, hurry up." Lily ordered when she noticed the group was lagging behind. Issei quickened his pace until he was next to Lily. "I find it a bit strange that you have a posse of school kids and woman who looks like she's going to kill everyone," Lily commented when Issei caught up to her. Issei glanced back at the Devils and Cinder, then back to Lily. "What can I say? I like variety in my group," Issei commented. "And what did you need a group for? You're just meeting a friend?" Lily asked curiously. "Oh, you know. I wanted to see a friend. They overheard me and wanted to ditch too. So, they blackmailed me into bringing them," Issei informed. "They're a bit forthcoming," Lily said, getting a shrug from Issei. "Are you going to tell on me?" Issei asked. "Why would I want to get such a cute little kid in trouble?" Lily questioned rhetorically. "I'm not a kid and I don't do cute," Issei replied sternly. "What are you going to do to back up that statement?" Lily questioned in a low whisper. "Whatever's necessary," Issei responded as he looked at Lily, getting a grin from the blonde woman. You sure are a bold one," Lily teased. "Life's a bitch. I can't be so timid about things. Especially when I talking to such a stunning woman," Issei said. "You're such a charmer. I bet you have all the ladies practically hanging off you," Lily said sarcastically. "Or is that why those girls are following you?" Lily asked offhandedly, getting a shrug from Issei. Issei heard Cinder voice, causing the teen to look at her as he moved to her side. "Yes?" Issei asked. "Are you sure you should be so open with that woman?" Cinder asked as she narrowed her eyes at Lily. "What's wrong with her?" Issei questioned as he looked at Cinder. Just watch yourself around her," Cinder said, saying her with disdain. "Oh, I get it," Issei said with a smirk. "You're jealous," he clarified. "I don't need jealousy," Cinder replied. "Because I know in the end, when everyone abandons you, I will be the person you cherish the most," she said darkly. "Man, that just killed the mood," Issei stated. The group eventually arrived at one of the hospital rooms. "Well, here he is," Lily said as they arrived at the room. "Thanks for the help, Lily," Issei thanked, getting a smirk from the blonde woman. "No problem," Lily trailed off. Issei introduced himself. "Issei? What a weird name," Lily commented. "Well, I can't be blessed with everything," Issei replied offhandedly before he looked at Lily to see she was writing something on a note card. "Well, Issei-kun, if I used that right, it's been a pleasure," Lily purred out as she handed Issei a card. "My number," she added as Issei inspected the card and put it in his back pocket. Thanks," Issei muttered. "Later," he voiced, getting a slight wave from the blonde woman before she walked away. Issei's eyes trailed downward again as he watched Lily walk away before he and the others entered the room. The blonde receptionist turned and watched the group enter the room with a smirk on her face as her eyes changed from greenish blue to pure white. Lilith licked her lips, think back on the dark aura Issei had. It's so dark and so sinister. It seems so powerful, probably more powerful than Lucifer's. Lilith thought as she rubbed her thighs together slightly. The demon glanced down. I never knew I'd be so turned on by that. Lilith thought to herself before she looked back to the room with a contemplative look on her face. But the powerful being like Issei, I don't need to free Lucifer anymore and I won't have to die. Lilith thought. But it might take some time though. Once Dean breaks the first seal, I'll have to send dozens of demons to break the seals. She planned. But I'll hold off on the final seal until I have Issei as an ally or maybe something so much more. Lilith schemed with a devilish smirk as she turned around and walked. This is going to be so much fun. Lilith said excitedly with a hint of sadism before she vanished. Issei glanced around the hospital room to see a young man lying in a bed with a cast on his arm and leg. The teen walked up to the young adult. Hey, Issei, how have you been, man? Jay questioned. Ichi, now what exactly is going on here? Issei asked. Oh yeah, in the past month 6 men have all died under the same circumstances, all heart attacks, at night, no signs of drugs or anything. Jay informed. And you know about this, how? Ria's questioned suspiciously. They all happened next door. Jay commented as he reached over to the table next to him and pulled a beer off it before he took a sip. Are you sure we should trust the word of someone who's drinking? Kiba asked. Jay looked at Kiba before he looked back to Issei. Who's the douche? Jay questioned. He's Kiba, don't mind him. He's new to the job. Issei stated, causing Jay to look at the rest of the group. Are you teaching kids how to kill monsters? Jay asked, referring to the devils who were wearing their school uniforms. Yes. Issei quickly replied. Now, is that all the information you have on the deaths? Issei questioned. HM. Jay sounded as he took another sip of his beer. I see, come on. Issei voiced as he headed for the door. Come back any time. I'm bored as hell here. All I do is watch incredibly bad movies and daytime television with those two weirdos. Jay said as he pointed to the empty part of the room. He knows it's empty, right? Riaz whispered into Issei's ear. Schizophrenia. Issei replied as he left the room with Cinder by his side. You've been strangely quiet. Issei questioned. I don't talk when I have nothing to talk about. Cinder stated uncaringly. I guess that's something we both share. Issei said, getting a smirk from the amber-eyed woman. Soon, we'll be sharing more than that. Cinder said, getting a deadpan look from Issei. That wasn't your best. Issei quipped, getting a scolding glare from Cinder. Sorry. Issei quickly voiced. Issei entered the empty hospital room and glanced around before he walked to the center of the room. So what are we going to do about this ghost? Riaz asked curiously. I'm taking care of the spirit while you just sit around and watch. Issei replied as he reached into his duffel bag and pulled out a small device with 2 antennas on it. Issei walked around the room and scanned the device over the area. What are you doing? Kaneko questioned, causing Issei to jump slightly at her sudden question. He sorta zoned out. Most supernatural creatures naturally interfere with technology. I'm using an EMF detector to find where the electromagnetic interference is the strongest. Issei explained as he continued to scan throughout the room. When Issei held the EMF detector near the bed, it began to release a high-pitched whine. Issei sounded. Hey Cinder, can I talk to you for a second? Issei voiced as he walked into a secluded part of the room. Cinder calmly strode to Issei's side. What? She asked. Does this room feel a bit off? Issei inquired. Ever since he entered the room, he felt like he was being watched. Cinder's eyes gleamed maliciously as she glanced around the room and noticed 7 figures watching them. No. Cinder replied, getting a look from Issei. Yes. She added. What do you feel? Issei asked. I don't feel anything. I can see the ghosts watching us. Cinder stated. Wait, ghosts? Issei questioned as he glanced around and saw nothing. Yes, it seems the original ghost killed the 6 men and they joined it. Cinder explained as she glanced around again. Ah crap, you can see them? Issei asked, surprised. Yes, the darkness has a certain clairvoyance. It allows us to see into people's souls and see their inner nature. This ability also allows us to see ghosts even if they want to be invisible. Cinder enlightened. That's so useful. Issei muttered to himself. Can you see who the original ghost is? Issei asked, causing Cinder to sigh. Do it yourself. I'm not holding your hand through the job that you've done for years. Cinder replied uncaringly. Issei sighed before he narrowed his eyes. Alright, Cinder said, the darkness responds to my will. So if I want to see the ghost then it should happen. Issei thought as he began to see the outlines of the spirits. The outline formed into solid shapes and Issei was able to see the spirits. Issei focused and the outlines began to form shapes. The teen looked past the spirits up front and looked for the main spirit. Issei found the spirit and his eyes widened slightly. It was a woman with long brown hair that was tied in a ponytail. Issei noticed the woman wore a white dress and she was staring at him with regret and longing. The darkness host took a step back and slowly put his EMF detector back in his duffel bag. Then slowly made his way back to the devils. "What's wrong?" Rias questioned. "We gotta go." Issei muttered, "Well, only he and Kiba needed to get out of this place. If what he thinks is in this room, then all the males need to get the hell out of here." "What?" Rias asked, confused. "Actually, Kiba and I need to get out of here," Issei said forcefully, his eyes never leaving the woman in white. "Why?" Rias questioned. "Quite asking stupid questions, we need to get the hell out of here now," Issei replied as he grabbed Kiba's arm and pulled him out of the room. "Issei-san, what's wrong?" Kiba asked when the two were in the hallway. "I know what type of ghost that's in there," Issei explained as the remaining devils left the room. "It's a woman in white," Issei added. "The woman in white?" Kaneko queried. "The woman in white is a ghost of a dead beautiful woman," Issei stated. "When they were alive they all had children, they suffered from temporal insanity when the man they loved cheated on them. As a result the woman would kill their children and then themselves. Their ghost spends the rest of eternity on Earth looking for their children, crying and suffering, hoping they'd find their children again," Issei said, staring at the door to the room. "And you and Kiba had to leave, why?" Rias asked. "Because women in white tend to kill men who are unfaithful, just like the man that cheated on her," Issei explained. "And if the men aren't unfaithful, they will make them, and then they'll kill them," he added. "Well, what do we do now?" Kaneko asked. "I have to find out what woman who tried to kill her kids and died in that room. Then I'll have to find out where she was buried," Issei said. "Why do you need to find where she's buried?" Kaneko questioned. "So I can salt and burn her remains," Issei specified, getting weird looks from all the devils. A few hours later, Issei sat at a desk looking at a monitor, with Kaneko and Rias looking over his shoulder. "Do you mind?" Issei snapped. He hated it when people looked over his shoulder, especially when he was on a computer. "So what did you find?" Rias asked cutely, which Issei ignored. "There was an incident 17 years ago." Issei read off the computer. "A couple came to the hospital. Gwen Haidu was pregnant and was about to deliver. After the baby was born, the father cheated on Gwen. In her insanity, she tried to suffocate her child, but the doctors stopped her in time. Soon after that she realized what she was about to do and killed herself. The father later gave the kid to the local orphanage, the St. Mary's Orphanage." Issei finished, with narrowed eyes. "What happened to the husband?" Rias questioned. "In his grief he left Japan," Issei added. "Well, what about the son?" Akeno asked. "I don't know. We did go to the same orphanage though," Issei stated, causing Kaneko's and Ria's eyes to narrow in suspicion and Cinder to smirk. "You were an orphan?" Kiba asked with surprise. Issei sounded as he searched the web for the son of Gwen Haidu. After a few minutes, Issei stopped on one page and his face went black before he closed the windows. "I see," Issei muttered. "What is it?" Akeno questioned. "Nothing. Come on, let's go. I know where she was buried," Issei voiced as he stood up and tossed his duffel bag over his shoulder. "But what about her son?" Akeno asked. "It's useless now," Issei said forcefully. But Akeno began. "Why do you all insist on questioning every move I make? You wanted to come follow me and watch what I do. But every time I try and do my job, the job that I've done for years now, you all constantly try to second guess me," Issei snapped out. "What's that supposed to mean?" Akeno asked dangerously. "Nothing," Issei stated as he turned around and left the room, leaving a group of confused devils and an amused Cinder. "Well, this has been entertaining," Cinder voiced as she stood up and walked over to the computer Issei was on. "Is this all a joke to you?" Rias demanded, her crimson aura flaring. "In a manner of speaking, yes it is," Cinder replied coldly. "Then why are you even with Issei?" Akeno asked. "Because I can," Cinder half answered. "Why was Issei upset?" Kaneko questioned, getting an annoyed look from Cinder. "You really couldn't read the atmosphere?" Cinder asked, causing the devils to look at her curiously. Cinder sighed again before she pulled up Issei's search history and showed the devils the information he discovered. "Wait, you mean Issei is the orphan?" Rias asked sadly. "It was pretty obvious," Cinder replied. "Is Issei really going to burn his mother's remains?" Akeno questioned morbidly. Cinder sounded almost gleefully. "But, it's his mother," Akeno argued, with Rias agreeing. Kaneko herself was staying oddly quiet before she looked in the direction Issei left off in and then followed. Cinder's eyes glanced at Kaneko who was leaving without a word before she looked back at the group of devils. "You're all that naive, aren't you?" Cinder asked rhetorically, causing Rias and Akeno to glare. Cinder looked amused by their glare before she vanished in wisps of black and purple smoke. "Are you alright?" Kaneko asked when she found Issei, who was rummaging through his duffel bag. Yeah. Issei answered before he glanced to Kaneko, who decided to sit next to him. Are you sure? She questioned more forcefully, but was able to keep most of her emotions hidden. Yeah, I'm sure. Issei replied, only to feel Kaneko's hand on his shoulder. Issei turned to face Kaneko again, to see she was looking at him with big hazel eyes. Be truthful. Kaneko lightly ordered. I am being truthful. Issei said confused. I can't be upset about a mother that I never knew, tried to kill me. And I can't be upset that my father abandoned me. He said, only for Kaneko to turn him around so they were face to face. The truth. Kaneko said with narrowed eyes, causing Issei to sigh. Fine, I am a bit pissed that my mother tried to kill me. And if I ever run into my dad, I will kick his ass for both abandoning me and cheating on my mom. Issei relented, getting a slight smile from Kaneko. See. Kaneko voiced. Yeah, you got me to open up, such an achievement. Issei sarcastically, causing Kaneko to glare. I'm trying to be nice. I could buy apathetic if you want. Kaneko stated. No, I like nice Kaneko. Issei replied quickly, causing Kaneko's eyes to narrow slightly. Then you have to be nice, too. Kaneko stated, getting a look from Issei. I'm nothing but nice to you. Issei argued. You were mean to the others. Kaneko voiced. I don't like them. Issei stated. I only went there because you wanted me there. Issei added, causing Kaneko to sigh. I understand. Just at least try. Kaneko asked. Fine, I'll be more considerate of them, but I won't be nice if they do stupid shit. Issei said, getting a sigh from Kaneko. I think that's the best I'm going to get right now. Kaneko muttered. The two sat in silence for a few seconds before Issei looked at Kaneko. So are we going to hug or something? Issei asked, getting a curious look from Kaneko. Hug? She questioned. Yeah, we just had an emotional connection, shouldn't we hug? Issei stated, causing Kaneko to narrow her eyes at him. Don't ruin the moment. Kaneko voiced, causing Issei to deflate. Issei looked back down to his duffel bag but felt something wrap around him. He glanced to his side to see Kaneko had wrapped her arms around him. Issei relaxed into Kaneko's hug before a voice startled them. My, what's going on here? Cinder asked as she appeared in front of the two, causing Kaneko to jump slightly. The darkness embodiment watched the two teens separate with narrowed eyes. We were just Issei said. I was comforting him. Kaneko stated. Cinder sounded not believing the statement. Issei stood up and placed the duffel bag over his shoulder. Let's just hurry up and take care of the woman in white. He voiced before he faced Cinder. Is it possible for you to take us to the grave site? Issei asked. Yes, but are you sure you want to leave the abominations behind? Cinder responded teasingly. I honestly don't care. Issei stated, only for Kaneko to elbow him in the chest. What? He asked. Be nicer. She replied. And I want to come too. Kaneko muttered. You were going to come anyways. Issei informed before he looked to Cinder. So can we go before the others catch up? I just want to get this hunt over with already. Issei admitted this was not how he wanted the day to turn out. Cinder sighed fine. She relented before she grabbed onto Issei's shoulder and Kaneko's and the trio vanished in a wisp of black smoke. The three appeared in a dark cemetery. This place is depressing. Kaneko commented as she looked around the cemetery. It's a cemetery, what did you expect, rainbows and unicorns? Issei asked sarcastically, only too for Kaneko to glare at him. Sorry, force of habit. Issei replied. Well, come on. There's a grave to dig up. He added as he walked around the cemetery. After a few minutes Issei found the grave site. Issei looked at his mother's grave before he looked around for Cinder and Kaneko. I found it. Issei announced, getting the two females' attention. How are we going to dig it up? Kaneko asked when she noticed they didn't have any shovels. Who said we were digging it up? Issei asked rhetorically as dozens of glowing yellow eyes appeared in the dark mist of the cemetery. Dig it up guys. Issei ordered to the darklings that came out of the mist. Kaneko watched in surprise as the darklings viciously dug up a grave while Cinder watched with apathy. Issei was looking through his duffel bag and pulled out a container of salt and fire accelerant. When the darklings opened the coffin, the three saw a rotting corpse inside it. Issei opened the salt container and emptied it on the corpse before he soaked it in the flame accelerant. Well I don't really have any last words. Issei muttered as he pulled out several matches and lit them up and then tossed it on the corpse engulfing it in flames. So, see you in the afterlife, I guess. He added. Kaneko looked from the fire to Issei. Are you going to be alright? She questioned. Yes, I'm alright, quite worrying about me. You have better things to do than worry about this messed up guy. Issei replied. You're not messed up. Kaneko argued, getting a dry look from Issei. I'm burning my mother's corpse to stop her from killing unfaithful men. And I don't feel much of anything from it. If that's not messed up, then I don't know what is. Issei stated, getting a sigh from Kaneko. You're not messed up, Issei. If you were, you wouldn't have wanted to be friends with me. Kaneko voiced. And if you were, you wouldn't put yourself in danger to help others. Kaneko added. Issei sighed. Damn, if you keep trying to cheer me up like this. People will think you have a thing for me. Issei said with a teasing tone, earning a blush from Kaneko. Shut up, pervert. Kaneko demanded with a slight glare. Now that the chick flick moment's over, let's wrap this up. Issei voiced as he packed up the salt and fire accelerant in his duffel bag. Kaneko huffed slightly when Issei said they had a chick flick moment, she was being serious. So is this it? Kaneko asked, referring to dealing with a ghost. Issei sounded, before he faced Cinder, who was looking around the dark cemetery with delight, before he faced Kaneko again, when he felt her tug on his sleeve. Can I stay with you tonight? Kaneko asked, well her job with watching Issei was over. She felt an attachment to him and she wanted to be there for him, just in case he was feeling bad. There was also the fact she didn't want Issei alone with Cinder. Sure. Issei said unsurely. Thanks. Kaneko muttered quietly. Issei looked to Cinder again only to see she had disappeared. What the hell? Issei thought to himself. You take yourself home. I told you how to travel through the shadows. I won't be carrying you around. Do it yourself. Issei heard Cinder's voice say in his mind. Where's the bitch? Kaneko questioned as she glanced around. Her name's Cinder and I guess you're right about the bitch part. Issei sighed out. She left us here so I could get experience in shadow traveling. Issei added. Shadow traveling? Kaneko asked curiously. Yeah, apparently I can travel through the shadows. Issei stated before he faced Kaneko and lightly grabbed onto her shoulders. I'm not sure I can do it though. Issei admitted. It's okay, I trust you. Kaneko voiced, causing Issei to narrow his eyes in focus. Kaneko felt a chill run up her spine. She looked down to see her shadow enveloping her legs. She looked to Issei to see his eyes closed in concentration. Kaneko closed her eyes when she felt the cold shadow envelope her entire body. Before her eyes snapped open when she felt her body falling. Issei and Kaneko fell on top of each other. Brown eyes looked into hazel eyes before Issei put his hands on Kaneko's shoulders and began to push her off. Not that I don't like this position. But, I know if I try to do anything, I'd probably get hit. So Issei trailed off as he lifted Kaneko off him. The white-haired blushed in embarrassment when Issei easily lifted her up. Issei glanced around his apartment. It could have been worse. Issei said to himself before he looked at Kaneko, who was fixing her outfit. I'm going to bed. There's food in the fridge if you're hungry. The darkness host voiced as he placed his duffel bag on the floor and laid on his couch. Good night, Ice-kun. Kaneko muttered as Issei fell asleep. End of the part 2. So how was this story? I hope you like it. And if you like it, share this story with your friends and like the video too. And don't forget to subscribe our channel for daily awesome fanfiction. Okay, it's time for me to go. Bye bye.